All right. Good evening, folks. My name is Real Blank Space, and this is our third episode of Tech Talk, and I am joined by...
Mortarian Santum.
See, I figured if I let him say it, I wouldn't chew on it and fuck it up from the start. So, welcome to the show. I hope you're having a wonderful day.
Yeah, thanks, man. The life is good.
Life is good. So you've been playing tech for a day or two. You've been playing for years. What's a little bit about your backstory?
Oh, a little bit about my backstory. Let me do a quick account real quick and see what that comes up. Sunday, August 13th, 2000 is when my account was opened.
It's a long time.
Long time.
One of the OGs around here. Got to give you that, man.
You know, I'm not quite around. Like when I was around, people were already grandmasters, and Andrew was already an asshole. So it's like, those were already established by the time I came in. But yeah, it was definitely nice to be one of the early packs.
There you go. All right.
So I played Yahovskamon. Was really my first really main character that I tried to take seriously and role play at all.
Okay.
And primarily today and since 2004, I've played the Patrician Mortarian Santum.
Very cool. And for, let's say, somebody was new to tech, right? And they understood, if you type who and you look at everybody's names, right? I love that you're on, right? So most people have one name and you have two. That signifies that you're a different type of character, right? So you're not a regular character. There's a difference.
No, I'm what is pronounced better than a normal character.
This is going to be fun. So, for somebody who might be new that's watching, right? You see a lot of these names in the Who list. When there's two, they can denote sometimes a game master playing a character, but very often, and rarely in this case, you'll find somebody like Mortarian here who is a Patrician. We're going to dig into what that is and what that means. But basically, within the social class, they're supposed to be like these rich folks. But we'll dig into that. I just wanted to let you know that there is a little bit of a difference to these characters with two names. Long time ago, they actually used to have like official positions and all sorts of things that they did. But again, getting ahead of myself. He is currently your main now?
I would say that, yeah. I don't really play anybody other than him. I decided to really take him seriously this go around when I started playing again back in like June, July.
Okay.
And so I've just really made like one main character, and I was looking at my other guys at Yahovskamon, and I was like, this guy doesn't have any good stats. He's like, all his stories have fizzled. He's been out for so long. Then I had like a third guy that sometimes I mess around with. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take my Patrician seriously. So I was like, other than this, it's like start a new guy, and I'm not ready for that. So let me just see what I can do with this guy politically and go from there.
Perfect. You said that you just came back recently. Are you one of us who just came back with the choppening? Or did you come back because you heard of that? There seems to be this BC before chop, then there's the choppening, and then there's after. So where did you come in on that timeline?
So it's funny how that works out, because I was talking to a friend of mine who still played, and she was like, and you'll excuse me if I sound a little distracted. I'm still conducting business as we speak.
That's okay.
So
I'm currently in the library, if that helps. And I do this on purpose because I want to show the game while I do these. But I also don't want to be like trying to roleplay with somebody or have somebody walk along and be like, hey man, what are you doing? You're like, I'm doing good. What did you ask? So go ahead and take your time. It's all right.
Okay. Remind me again what the question was.
You said that you had just returned.
Oh, yeah. So
that was my question.
Yeah, where I fit into that timeline. So I was talking to a friend of mine who still played Eternal City, and I was trying to get a hold of her, and I was like, I lost her email, so I was like, hey, like, how do I, you know what? I'll check for her in Eternal City. I'll see if she's there. So I logged in, and I reached out to her, and I at mailed her, and she was like, "Hey, yeah, you know, it's funny you come in at this time." And I was like, "Why? What's going on?" She goes, "Log in." So I log into the game, and not a half hour before I log into the game, the ship for Culloden Island had set. And I went, "Why? What's happening? Why is everybody waving goodbye and saying how cool the island is?" And everyone's like, "Oh, you just missed it. A bunch of people just effectively died on a boat."
Yep.
And
So
I'm like, "Oh, so that's where I came in, but purely by happenstance. I didn't hear about it. I wasn't like peripherally aware. I had been completely out of touch with the game since 2012.
it's funny. I had left, I think, around that same sort of time, and it's the same. I came back randomly. I was looking for a mud in my life, and another one I played had just gone very wayward. Different story for a different time. I was like, I'll go see what's going on in TEC, and it was like, hey, got a character? You want to be a part of this story? Chop them up. And I'm like, okay, what? Who cares? And then I started reading the forums, and it's like, we give out veteran characters like we should. Go ahead and chop them up and start a new story today. And I'm like, this is great. Here we go, bro. All right. I haven't used this guy since, 2004, or, time to go. Get on the ship. So I came in just before that, and that's actually where my current character, Evan, came from. He was, I'm pretty sure I was the first character to get chopped. I literally walked off the boat, walked straight out, and a couple people were like, hey, bro, what's up? What can you do? And he's like, I can forage for water. I don't know. Like, I can make you some fires. They were like, yeah, goodbye. And that was it. He was dead, and I'm like, hey, guys, how long does it take to get... thanks. And right away I went, so...
They couldn't wait to use you as an example.
Dude, it was instant. I got murdered, and then it's funny because I had heard about the VC packages, so I started like writing for it and stuff. So I was ready when it was time. Sometimes I've heard, sometimes you get a VC and it's a whole process. You're like, oh, what do I want to do? I don't know what to do. I don't want to mess it up. So people like sit on them or re-roll them a bunch. That wasn't me, man. I took the first roll, jumped out the gate, and here we are. So, but you came right after the choppening. Okay.
Yeah, I came in right after the choppening, and since then I've been trying to really like feel out what the rest of the game looks like. Obviously, there's a lot of changes since 2012. Right. There's talk of the war zone, and friendliest is a word I've heard.
Yep.
There's the Nihal village of Stromheim. People are asking for fish and tokens, and I don't know. Does anybody have Reforged tickets? I'm like, what the hell is a... Wait, what? What are you talking about? So I realized very quickly that there's a lot that I needed to rediscover. Yeah. And then people are like, oh, yo, anybody like want to buy a faceplate I got from Belrad that I don't like? And I'm like, what's a Belrad? Like, there's some like, can I walk to Toga? Okay, that's the game I know. What is this crap you're talking about?
So much, yep.
So many things. Like the library finally opened since the way before. Like... I think by the time I stopped playing in 2012, either the library had just opened or it was opening in a couple of months, something like that.
There has been quite a lot added to the game, especially when you come back and you try to like absorb it all at once, and it's not all in one place. Like you were saying, you got Rock Valley over here, you got Friendliest over here. You've got reforging. I mean, just reading combat took me like weeks to try and catch up. Like, wait, what is? Staves are good? Staves are always garbage. What are you talking about? Like, or like whips are kind of good, and combat's changed, and this thing got changed. So, yes. Tell him, puppy.
Yeah, even the dog's upset.
See? Asking for the nerfing of staves in dog language.
It's our meme joke, right? It's like, oh wait, bandits are overpowered. Nerf staves.
All right. So we know a little about you. You've been playing for a while. You were gone. You came back. What I really want to dig in with you, because you are my SME, you are my subject matter expert, is patricians. Now I have my own assumptions. I've done a little reading. I never got one. So I'd love for you to kind of fill in some pieces, and maybe we can kind of dig into this topic together. So Patricians came out in...
Patricians, you say.
Yes.
As I pull out the cigarette from my mouth and exhale. I haven't heard that name in a long time.
When did they come out? It's like 2010? Before that?
No, way before that. So my class came out in 2004. I think we were 10 patricians,
No.
maybe 8.
Wow. That's right.
So,
Yep.
and we were not the first. I think I was like the third class. The first class was like a couple of patricians. Then they did one full class of 10, and then I think my class came along. So probably 2002, I would wager, the first patricians came out. That was, I think Quintilius Granius.
Yep.
He was like the only patrician around. He was one of the few test subjects.
Now,
Yeah,
so
basically.
they came out back then, and there are some things I want to note here. I think nope, we'll get to that one. I want to hold on to that one.
I would like to know what your presumptions have been as an outsider. Like, what do people who are not intimately familiar with the patrician system presume happens behind these doors?
Well, okay. So when we first heard about patricians, I thought they were cool, and when they first started coming out, I was actually, and that's why it took me a second to remember. I think it was deployed overseas, and I had heard about these things, and I'm like, dude, that sounds kind of cool. And at the time, I had Sumptu. Sumptu was like my main, and I'm like, it'd be cool to mix things up because for a very long time, I just played one character, just one main, and I thought the idea of this like hierarchical social character would be kind of cool, and trying to develop them. So I knew that there were classes. I knew that there was a role. You had to pay role points to get them, and I knew you had to make some sort of GM class and training before you played these characters, which I was all down with. I never had the role points when the classes were open, which is pretty much my curse. But from what I understand, again, from the outsider, was that they were supposed to add a social aspect to the game. So they were there to kind of vie with each other. There was an entire social system. I'm not sure what it is. I want to say prestige, but that's not the right word. Whatever it is, where you would have clients, and if one was a constable and one was in the legio, and then they got promoted because you were talking to the centurion, then that helped you. So there was supposed to be, and if I'm wrong, please tell me. There was supposed to be this sort of social system that you would like vie with. So you would go from like the assistant governor of Blackvine to maybe the governor of Blackvine, or maybe you don't want to be on the outskirts anymore of Rock Valley. You end up coming in the city and being like the Steward. So there was supposed to be some sort of interplay with these characters, their clients, how well their clients did, and I know that that's just a basic of my understanding. How close am I?
So you're really close. Yeah, so there definitely was the vision for the patrician program. I'm still conducting business. So the vision for the patrician program was that this would be kind of its own economical function to I think ultimately better assist the GMs. Like, so if you're having patricians who have these mechanical capabilities,
Oh,
yeah.
We're gonna have to make you go hide, man. We're gonna have
Yeah, sorry, man. Oof, I'm going to my room. I'm locking myself away. That's what's happening. But these cat days, man, they're addictive. So, yeah. So what was the vision for the patrician program was the understanding that that they would have these mechanical functions and be able to do things like hold trials. They'd be able to expedite a lot of the jobs the game masters were having to do at that point. Trials were basically not done. So, put people in charge of the constables to facilitate getting supplies, sending in at requests using those organization credits, right, that orgs have.
Yeah.
Really facilitating that, being the middleman. But what ended up happening is, in order to put all of those systems in place, because at the moment you arrive at those systems, at the moment you put somebody at the seat of justice, and then they go, oh, you know what would make my job down here a lot better, or you know what would make it even better, and they have a laundry list of 1,000 demands. And then you do that across 8 or 9 positions, and now the GM is like, okay, it turns out that we need more than just one game master on top of this thing, and
Right.
then it quickly fizzles out from there. But the vision was to have, you're right, like somebody in charge of everything, assistants, so assistant governors, assistant justices. You'd have the tribune of the legio and the legate or legate of the constables, and those would pretty much be your main positions. Like when you look at officials,
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
yeah, so you see there that like there are some positions that are never ever going to change. You're looking at consul and legate of Legio 1. Tribune of Legio 1 is going to be that guy forever, and the like, so you'd be like, I forget what the actual position was, but I think it was some kind of um it was some kind of tribune as well for Legio 1. Um then let's see, justices, the Phoenix Guard and Legio 2 we have nothing to do with. That's never going to be like player
Right.
organizations. The justices here, we have Lucian Alendi as Justice of the City. He's going to be that forever. There's nobody's ever going to step in his shoes. That's got to be a GM NPC. But you can have like Assistant Foreign Justice. Okay, that's fine. I just suddenly we're hearing Merry Christmas over here. I don't know how much of it is coming through. I hope none of it, but this is the state of my house right now.
That's fine, dude.
So yeah, we have Justice of the City and Assistant City Justice. So these like foreign justices, the people that are basically going to be senators, are never going to ever change.
Right.
Assistant Foreign Justice, that's going to be a player. That can be a PC. Assistant City Justice, that can be a PC. That may be a PC. I don't know if any more Patricians were released since mine were. So then you'd have like Iridian Constables under Station 1 Captain. You'd have the Constable Legate, and that was a station that was there for a long time. The Munland Vigiles, I think there was like an assistant governor of Munland, but I don't think there was ever anything to do with the Vigiles.
Yeah, they were
I don't know if I'm
separate.
saying that right. Yeah, they were their own thing. When we talked about the Cultivario and which of us could be priests, when the GM stopped laughing, they went, "Oh, you were serious." So we just moved quickly on to governors and stewards of the city, and they were like, "Yeah, you could be assistant steward of the city. You could be assistant steward of record and assistant steward of games, and then the assistant steward of the city, and then the assistant governor of Rock Valley was not a position yet because that wasn't a place that existed yet. So
Right.
it was assistant governor of Blackvine, assistant governor of Munland, and there was a position called crap, I'm trying to remember what the actual title was. It was like Veteran's Justice, Legio's Justice for Veterans Aid, something like that. Like Legio Aid for Veterans Justice, something like that. It was a weirdly worded kind of title you'd have, where you're not like, wait, like, what do I call myself? Am I governor? Am I justice? Am I like? But yeah, so there were a lot of big plans for the Patricians to occupy. As you can see, all these little territories, like. You have one guy who has his foot in Blackvine, one guy with a military foot in Vetelan, and then you have a lot of other people in Iridian proper with a lot of power to go around and a lot of combat for that power. And so it ideally, I think what it was is to facilitate the game masters' lives. Is if you could have this fully functioning system, then the game masters could finally be like, now we can just tell stories and answer at requests.
Well, and
maybe even swap those, because I know that I have several pending from June.
the one I wanted to mention was the steward of the city. I know in the past, those have been handed off to patricians to do, and they were actually, and again, this is years ago, so for those of you who are brand new who are like, what does this mean now? This is how it used to work, and I wanted to dig into the past, how they used to work, how they work now, and potential changes in the future. So the steward actually used to be a super active thing, where there was one a while back that would do all sorts of little events and stuff like that. And now, even now, we have this one that does the festivals and stuff that will do like games. I think that's great. I wish that we could see a little bit more from these other ones. One thing of note, if you look, we actually we have things like the constables. That's a character right there, Nerwintok. We have another character, Elwin is the Centurion. It's actually listed under officials. That's still new, relatively new for the game, because you couldn't get your name on the officials government list. It didn't matter who the heck you were, unless you were a patrician. And so now we see characters that are actually moving their way up these ladders so much that they actually make it, which I think is forward progress in the whole social aspect of the game, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's this weird bridge between like these and the construction of a patrician itself is its own like the OOC auction we had to go through, and the background checks and the story writing, like the whole process itself. I can shed a clear light on how it used to be since the program's been discontinued, but yeah, there was this vision to have these people that were like, all right, we can play these incredible people who have these incredibly powerful positions and can really assist the game world in a positive way. They're not just extra characters that we feel like giving to our friends who are rich. It's like you are part of the nobility, which means you get to potentially, if you play it right, shape what the rest of the game looks like.
Right.
20 years ago, two men in hooded cloaks murdered a senator in broad daylight and got away with it because they were wearing hooded cloaks.
Yep.
A week later, hooded cloaks were banned, and everyone is like, oh man, two guys ruined the fun for everyone. But those guys used what was in their power, their skills, their stealth, and they killed a guy for whatever reason that may be. It happened, but ever since then, there's no hoods allowed.
And just so we're clear, I totally want to say this on a clip. I swear it wasn't me. No matter what rumors you hear from people, because everybody says, dude, it totally was you. It wasn't me. Just
cited at lug.
It wasn't me. That's what I don't know who it is. That's all rumors. But what I will say is it wasn't me. Everyone's always like, dude, it totally was you. You were the big troublemaker back in '99. I'm like, I swear it wasn't me.
The funny thing is that one time people were discussing, how that happened a long time ago, and then Andrew was in thoughts and he thinks a lot and he's like, I'm really upset nobody has got suspicions that it's me. Like, really? Like, nobody's even like, it was probably Andrew. Like, it was probably Andrew for everything else, but not the murder, a high-profile murder of a senator in broad daylight. Like, that's such a me crime.
Yep. Okay, so let me back this up. My train of thought, anyways. So patricians used to have an entire vetting system. There was a role point cost. And then you had to write your story. You went to classes with the GMs, and then they were supposed to be to kind of help the game world in a specific way. That has now been discontinued, as you've stated, and I think we've also seen it in the forums. So what are you doing with your character now to try and bring something to the game with the character you still have? I mean, that would be really disheartening to me if I was like, crap, I have what was supposed to be this cool social thing and do all this stuff, and now, and again, I'm a super positive person most of the time, so I'd like to think that maybe we could fix it or adjust it or something like that. We'll talk about that in a second, but right now, with what you have, you got this broken Rubik's Cube in front of you. What are there things you're trying to do in the game to affect change, or are you doing anything interesting in the game or noteworthy with that character, even though it's discontinued, that program? Are you still trying to affect some sort of change with it, or are you just kind of like, whatever?
Well, so I think it's clear to anyone who's listening to anything, to thoughts ever, that the answer is yes. I am still trying to do things with my patrician. I do still have, at the very least, the one thing which can influence. There's a lot of ways you can influence the game, right? You can roll points to boost your character. You can have actual physical power in game via mechanics, whatever. But what I do have that a lot of other people don't have is a constant, never-ending source of money. And let me tell you what an infinite supply of money can get you is whatever you want all the time.
So you're just walking around baller.
All the freaking time, Alex. No, it's really it's not that like it's not. I mean, it is limitless in the sense that it is an income mechanic, and that I make passive income, but it's still limited, and it's still there's only so much I can do with it. So,
Right.
no, what I was getting to the point is that like I am still trying to do things with my patrician, and the mechanics of the patricians themselves that were influence points and dignitas, and there was a whole social system there to be like popularity that was also supposed to be considered, and with all these systems in place, there wasn't really a form to automatically have them be executed because
Okay.
everybody wanted GM intervention because instead of getting this one thing with my influence, can I spend it on this other thing instead? Well, you need somebody to at least read the request, reply to it, approve it or decline it.
Right.
But at the moment you say yes to one, you're going to get 15. And now your backlog begins. Now you need one guy on top of this day in and day out.
Right.
So like I think the best way to approach like what I'm trying to do at this point is to kind of to talk a little bit about my character's background. That's okay.
Yeah, of course. Tell us a little bit about him.
So I was part of the 2004 class, and I stopped playing, as I said, in about 2012. So about 8 years of him actively. And during this time, was when the patricians were most active. So when he first came up, I was like, what do I want to do as a patrician? What group do I want to join or whatever? And then I was assistant justice of something or another. And then I was assistant justice of a different place, and I did some trials, and it was pretty interesting. There are a few feelings in Eternal City more exhilarating than literally typing sentence Levin to death. Uh, it's just some feelings are so good.
Right.
Um, but yeah, and then I had a friend that was a constable legate, and I was like, oh, maybe I can do something with the Legio. So I started that Contubernalis, which is like mid officer kind of like
Right.
young officer kind of thing. What is it? NCO, like non-commissioned officers.
Yep.
And I did a stint on that. I fought in Rock Valley. I constantly boast if you ask me in game. I was there during the gates when they opened for the first time. I fought with soldiers in the front line. Don't you dare tell me this is not my land.
I was there. I was
Yeah.
there. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so he was there in Rock Valley. He remembers Rock Valley. Um, and then he became justice again, and then he became justice of something in the city, and then middle. Now if you look at him, he's missing one ear, and he has multiple cuts on his face, and he is clearly a traumatized and broken man.
Okay. So
That was till about 2012, and his story kind of ended. Like, I mean, I would presume it's known, it's public knowledge at this point. His story ended, quote unquote, when I stopped playing 2012, right before he made a bad decision and got himself discharged from his posts. So basically, he was like politically disowned, and he retired into exile. So
okay.
he got married, and he was like, let me just retire peacefully and quietly.
So he's
Um,
he's on his comeback now. That's what this is.
so this is the comeback tour. This is yeah, we're taking a page off of Bill Clinton, the comeback kid.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's right. Those are some dated references.
It's beautiful. It fits perfect with a 20-year-old text-based game. If
Yep.
you
And
don't, mention ICQ or AOL or, something from way back in the day at least once, everyone, like, there's people that are going to watch this and be like, I don't get it. We'll be like, yo, we've been playing this, like, when we were, like, in high school or middle school or whatever, like, some of us started playing this in their 30s and now they're in their 50s and they're talking about retirement. I'm like, what? Yeah, man. Seriously? But anyways,
it's crazy.
dated references are absolutely okay around here.
Yeah. And that joke worked on 3 levels because Bill Clinton is a politician. Yes, it's really old, and it's from the 90s. And he's literally all the things that are right there.
Covered them
So,
all the bases
yep.
done. Well done, sir.
Yeah.
Points
So
to
my guy's
you.
back, and he's like, what do I do with this insurmountable wealth? Alex, you would not believe how wealthy I am. But so like, what do I do with all this? And I'm like, well, I got to do something with this guy. And so I talked to the game masters. I had multiple conversations with Sidu, Cities, Cyrodius, and I really tried to figure out like, what am I like with the Patrician program? They're like, it doesn't exist anymore. There's no more influence. And I'm like, well, then how do I play the game? And they're like, you play like everybody else does. And I was like, what? I just at request things and we just don't worry about what it would cost in influence. We just worry about what it would cost in talent. And they're like, yeah, just, whenever you want to do something, you at request it. And, you're not our top priority. Understand that.
Right.
But we'll get to it when we get to it. And hopefully we can make something happen at some point. But like, just let us know what you need and we'll take care of it. So I was like, okay. So I've been, the whole thing now is like, I've been fighting to become assistant governor of Blackvine.
Yep.
Anybody who's ever heard anything about the name Santum knows that at this point. And I've been talking to Sidu for a while, and I was like, hey, what do I need to do to become, like, I'm applying? There's clearly nobody else in the running. Go ahead and just put me in the position. But in his eternal wisdom, Sidu's like, it's not like that. If we're starting your plot over from you got to earn your keep, then we're not going to slot you in just because a seat needs to be warmed. Like, let's put in somebody who is worthy of it. Like, if you want to play a patrician, you got to work for it.
Yep.
So I'm like, you know what? I will take that as a challenge. So we formulated the plan, and we're like, how do we get to where we're going, right? How do we get to that seat? And I'm like, well, I have all this money, so what I can do is I can buy things. So I started looking for, like, how do I get to Blackvine? So I started looking for property. So I bought somebody's domus in Blackvine. I tried to help restart the Vestas Formate, Melina's former organization. Yeah, so I was like, how do I get back into the political game? So I threw a party just for no reason, just so everybody would know that I am a house that exists again and I do things actively. A lot of people, I don't know, there were some people at the party. It was pretty fun. And then I started organizing this whole, like, hey, how do I, like, help other groups? So I started sponsoring, like, the Vestas Formate, and then we got this idea of Blackvine, and we're like, how do we get there? So we started putting these hunts together. You might have heard.
Oh, yeah.
You might have participated. If you did, thank you. It's a good time was had by all, I think. Unfortunate these most recent events, may they rest in Ario. Amen. But we had to cancel the Great Feast, yes. So we put these hunts together as a way of, like, how do we promote people going out to Blackvine? So you get them used to hunting things. So get them used to hunting things, you offer them prizes, you make a whole big deal about it. It gives back to the people. It gives an opportunity for people to, like, this is where the OC aspect of it is, right? Is like, we wanted to use what we had in game to give people cool stuff that required the game masters as little as possible.
Right.
So I asked for, like, give me some little, like, minorly custom items, like prizes for an event.
Yeah.
And I will do the rest. So, like, all that stuff about, like, the rules and the organizing and, like, what was given out and how much everything costs, like, that was all done behind the scenes by myself and other players. Like, nobody gave us any help in that. We just, like, figured out, how do we host 3 hunts? I don't know, but let's do it, because guess what? I already submitted them to the event. So they're there. We just have to figure out how to do it now. And every week we learn something new, and every week we try to improve the system. But the game masters, all they did was gave us some items that we were going to pass out at the Great Feast. And I think that that's really the best way that we can really help as patricians in this manner, is like, by using, at the very least, when the game masters just can't get to you, or when the political landscape just isn't, very bright, in my case, certainly, then, like, what do? Is you can assist other players with what they are looking to do. Well, so if somebody's like, I want to do, I have a small business idea and I just need 10 talents. And I'm like, dude, I got 10 talents and spades. Like, let me sponsor you and let's talk about a business deal. Like, and then having, like, a player run business, whatever. Like, I think that's a very cool idea.
Wanted to pick your brain about, and it's been a while, patricians have that passive income that comes with holdings. Mm-hmm. And I want to preface this with, I'm a dreamer, man. When it comes to tech, I've been playing since high school. I love the game. It's what taught me how to, first of all, type Thank you. I got out of a high school typing class because I was like, look at this. They were like, you don't need to be here. So thanks for that. Secondly, what I like about the game when it comes to roleplay is it's so open-ended. If you could change patricians into a system now to build towards the future, right? So right now they say influence points aren't a thing. Okay. Well, let's scrap the whole thing. If you're going to redo the process, let's not talk about the classes or anything like that. How would you see them working now going forward as somebody like me tries to build the community, and we're not just on Top Mud sites, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch. We start showing people this cool way to role play with other people. Maybe we build the community, more people come in. How do you see trying to, let's say 2 years from now, going to the GMs and being like, hey, look, can we make a social system of influence that you guys don't have to mess with? Where instead of having an @Kudos, you have an @Influence, and when something happens, you put that in. Would you make, or how would you make those sort of systems to support potentially patricians becoming a thing in the game? Or do you say F it, and when they die, they just die? What do you think it's worth trying to revitalize them, or are they kind of just archaic and should be left alone, like herbalism?
Gasp.
Dude, I totally
the
said
forbidden
it.
word. Leatherworking.
Never happened. But which one? Do you think it would be possible to change it and to adjust it for this new game that we're playing that's made so many changes? Or do you think that maybe that attention could go somewhere else? Maybe that attention could go into putting holdings into the game for regular players, or housing, or shops, or things like that.
One of my favorite books of all time is Dune, and one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite books is not because of the sci-fi fantasy, how cool it obviously is, but because when Paul Muad'Dib, spoilers by the way guys, the book is like 80 years old, when Paul Muad'Dib is going to take leadership of the tribe of Fremen, he has to defeat his second, or rather the Fremen was in charge of the tribe, and in order for him to take charge, he has to fight and kill him in ritual combat. And then he becomes number one. Everybody wanted him to do it. He was super popular. Everybody loved him. And he's like, you guys want me to fight the number one to become number one myself? And they're like, yeah, it is the way. And he throws his knife down and he goes, ways change. Like, you want me to cut off my right arm before I go into battle? Like, you're stupid. You are dumb and you deserve to be sand desert people. And then he stopped and he's like, sorry, I got off track. Where was I? Oh, yes, I'm not going to kill my best friend who's going to help me win the war. We're just going to win the war. I'm your number one now. You look at me. I am the captain now. And then he just rides on the sandworm and kills the palace. So the message there is, for that scene, is like, ways change. And that message really resonated with me. And what I think when I look at the patricians is, I've really thought about patricians for a long time. I've been deeply involved in them since pretty much I've had mine. And I think it's important to consider that patricians, the way they currently are designed, do not work without, at the very minimum, one full-time game master doing nothing but handling patricians.
Right.
And if patricians are going to have a place, and I believe they do have a place in this game, you must first accept that ways change, and that in order for patricians to cohabitate, you're going to have to let go of some of your preconceived notions of the limitations of what a patrician is. Like, it didn't work before, so let's do exactly what you said. Let's put in a brand new system now with no limitations, so that players can run themselves and each other.
Yeah. Well, let me give you an example, right? We have the Kudos system, which, by the way, I love.
I love Kudos.
I feel, again, I'm full of... Sorry about my phone, folks. Super unprofessional. Oh my god. I swear I used to do this a long time ago. I would love to see something where another social system, if we were to revitalize patricians, where it's like, I've gone to Santum and I'm like, hey man, I need this. And so then I'm able to add influence with my thing, like gave me a business loan that I did for something, right? And I can put a certain amount, like maybe it was a small interaction, so I say 2 or up to 5, right? But then down the road, you find out I used that to buy a bunch of hookers down in Court Heights, and so you would then distance yourself from that, right? You're like, no.
Yeah.
So you would add influence. I think that there is something where we would be able to incorporate the things that happen in the game behind the scenes, like not necessarily all the time, because the best part about this game for me is like when you hear a rumor, you hear about this from somebody, or you know what I mean, like, and being able to put that back into what a patrician was supposed to be. So if all of a sudden, you know, Santum's got like 30 negative influence from people, and you just start, you know, as a staff member, you start looking at it, it's like, you know, pissed in a fountain, got caught grabbing a chick's boobs here, was a rumor about this. You're like, man, this guy's not going to be the assistant here anymore. He's going to get demoted, you know, out to Rock Valley. He's going to be the assistant of the assistant out there. To me,
he's going to be made governor of Culloden Island.
Dude, you notice it, like, they're... That's a good one, sir.
Yeah, see? Relevant. The more topical reference.
There are potential systems we could put in there, and...
There are potential systems in place. They're just not fully fleshed out and connected.
Right. And I always try to come up with something that we could maybe offer. And again, it takes time. Something like this takes time. But I would love to see a class of somebody who says... I just read what Kyra said, and I almost just said that while talking to you. I apologize. I was like, what?
I turned off my thoughts, and I'm ignoring mind link attempts. It's
Good.
The only way I can
Don't watch
on this conversation.
Don't look at it.
No, I'm curious. What's going on?
Dun, 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 dun.
Sorry, go on.
Taking systems that are already in place, copy pasting that sort of code. We already have a Skotos system. It's already easily tracked and managed. We could build something around that. Again, I don't have all the answers, but I always try to come up with ideas that I can send to the staff. I think Elowin just put one in. We've been talking about it in the Discord. We've been talking about it. How to change the ending of characters from always at chopping. I wanted to spend 3,000 role points, have him get on his ship and sail away to the sun. For some reason, there's some sort of like, we can't do this. And I would love to see that change. And the way that we do that is keep coming up with, how does this work? How does this make sense? And how does this make it better for everybody, but also isn't such a deep project that the GMs look at it and go, nah, bro, like that's way too much. If we can kind of simplify things and still have, this is a great community thing, this is how it applies to everybody, this is how simple it is for you guys to do, then do it. So something is like the influence thing. It may not be a big deal, but if we can get 2 or 3 of the, like, because I've only seen 3 or 4 actual patricians since I've been back, getting them with this new system and then have them vying for Rock Valley, Blackvine, Stewards or whatever, then we bring that social part back into the game. Again, who knows if it would work, but if it worked, me, the dreamer, says, well, then how about we add 2 more? Put it in, as a lottery. You got to spend 2,500 RPs you get to put in, and you're going to be vetted out of all these people, and we're going to take 2, and we're going to put you in the game, and then we're going to have 2 more. Again, crazy stuff for me. Who knows if they'd ever go for it, but it would be kind of cool.
I definitely think that there is a place for patricians in the game today in using the current functioning systems that just need a little bit more work to make them automated in a way that really enables patrician play.
Right.
So the commands that nobody ever uses, which are for pretty much patricians only, everybody's got holdings, right? So you type in holdings and officials, everybody can check those. But if you type in client, it'll tell you if you've got like a patron or if somebody is your client.
Right.
So I've got like a patron and I've got some clients myself. And then there's like dignitas and popularity, and those used to be 2 different values which were used for different things.
Yep.
Like your dignitas was a big deal. Like if you came in with like crappy dignitas, you pretty much could do nothing with your entire life. and like you would do something good and maybe you'd get a dignitas, or you'd spend your dignitas to try to do something cool to back somebody else in their bid. And then popularity, I don't ever know what it was supposed to be used for, because I never heard anybody talking about it.
Gotcha.
And so yeah, like there's and then the last command, I believe it's either add influence or influence.
You know what's
Yeah,
interesting?
influence.
Sorry to interrupt you. I wonder if those are still stats on the stat block for the NPCs on officials. I wonder because we all know the L&Ds or whatever, they're like the ruling class. I wonder if their popularity slash dignitas just happens to be higher. And I wonder if that's like a simple system that could be put in place where, listen, these characters are static, right? If we look at officials again here, like, the high priest, man, this dude is like number 5 or number 2 on the total list of the whole city, right? And the priestess proxy, he's like number 4, and this consul up here, he's like number 1. I wonder if we could do a not static GM NPC, but a like Centurion. Does this Elwyn have a higher dignitas or rating than Nerwintok, and then having the ability for them to sort of vie for their positions? Maybe Nerwintok gets caught doing inappropriate things somewhere, and a new captain tries to take his position. That would be reflected in that, I think you said, popularity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but even more than that, like here's where the second level really begins. Here's where you get into the Julius Caesar level of things, right? Is Julius Caesar's best friend is becoming more popular than him, or Julius Caesar is becoming more popular than his best friend, and now his best friend is getting jealous because all he has is the love of the people, and now he's taking that from him. Like a battle is inevitable, as they said in Rome. And so having that possibility of like, whoa. Like, it's one thing to have 25 popularity, but Nerbentalk has 85 popularity. Like,
right.
Is that guy too popular? Do we need to do something about him? Like, that kind of thing. Like, so there's a lot of opening for a lot of potentials with these systems in place. And I think that with some work and with having some kind of, as you said, like add population or add popularity or add dignitas, whatever character, like at Kudos, or maybe just put it together. When you at Kudos somebody, you give them the popularity boost. You mix the two together.
See, I would disagree, just because Kudos can be an out of character recognition, even if, because there have been times I've Kudos somebody for making me laugh, but my character didn't react that same way.
Fair enough.
So I would keep those systems separate, just because if something the other day, I think your character was offering assistance. If there was a way for popularity, I would absolutely be like, at popularity, heard the client of this person offering help with, this game event. You know what I mean? And that's something simple that the GMs could look at. Again, for folks who may have longtime players of the game, I'm not saying this should or shouldn't happen. I just wanted to spitball ideas with somebody who has one of these characters to potentially see this social system revitalized.
Yes. So definitely, like, in the things that you could use influence for. Sure. So the things that you'd use influence for that were automated in at influence, you could buy holding, you could buy dignitas, you could buy popularity, and then review your influence expenditures. And so, like, I primarily use my influence to buy holdings. I think a couple of times I asked for like specific things that you could use influence for, like getting like an item with your crest on it, or getting a signet ring or something like that. But largely I just use it to buy holdings. Like, I have 11 holdings now because pretty much all I ever did is, with the influence I received, is spend it to make more money.
Yep. Well, I mean, that is...
And now I'm filthy.
Well, with the way that the game is in the social systems, it's pretty much the smartest thing you could do. Now that the other systems are dead, that actually makes it better for you, because then you're able to actually use that system now. I would be frustrated if I was like, man, I put it all into Dignitas, and I should be the governor, of Monlon or whatever, but those systems are now dead. So at least now you have at least a currency, dollar bills, yo.
Yeah, like I played the game. The real reason is I played the game wrong, but then because the system failed, it turns out I was really fit for survival in the wild.
The way it was supposed to be was you were supposed to climb this invisible social ladder that crumbled and broke, but you were like, man, I'll just buy a bunch of properties, right? Like Mr. Moneybags. You come back later, you're like, dude, I got some money. All right, now I'm going to do what I can do with this. So, I mean, that's smart.
That's exactly it. That is exactly what happened.
Well, I hope that I get to see from you, even if it's a request to the Game Masters, maybe it's a conversation you can have with them about putting some of these things in place that isn't a lot for them to do. And I know that would take time. I know that I would love to try and help you develop something like that. And everything in tech takes forever.
Can I tell you what my dream is?
Let's hear it. No. Let's hear it.
My dream is a world in which we, myself, and the other past Patrician players, kind of write our grievances, the goods and bads from the Patrician program. We offer it to the Game Masters with solutions like, here's what we think really would help, and then you promote one of those Patrician players to Game Master the other Patricians. So like you can keep playing your guy as normal, and you otherwise just basically are like the moderator of the Patricians. You're a game master, but you're not a game master in any capacity. Like, you don't handle at requests. You just, like, when somebody submits an at influence, whatever, like, or an at like popularity check, you just look through it. You do a quick analysis to see, like, is this something that happened? Do I need to follow up on this? And you just need to prompt a Y or an N to have it added to somebody's scoreboard. Like, well, if you know that something happened differently and somebody's trying to add influence something like that for something that didn't happen, and your character in game knows that did not happen, you can go up to that check and write, no, I'm not going to approve this, and here's why.
That actually sounds like setting up nowadays like an actual org where you have player characters that would have vie for that top position. That's your Nerwintok, your Elwyn. And you would have, in the city or of the active patricians, right? The person with the highest whatever activity is this. And this person is going to be the one who has the ability to approve influence, improve this, improve that, right? And then even if the system was like once a month, right? As a collective group, you're going to put together your stuff that you want to do for an event or want to do for here. And that's what you're going to try to put your influence on. Then it's one quick report that you send to the GMs and you say, hey, this is from all 3 or 4 of us. This person wants some torques. This one wants some cool fried meat in a sack. This one would just like somebody to stop by and have some flowers bloom and rabbits run by during their event. Can we get those? And hopefully they work. I think something like that would be really cool because it puts it on the players. If your MVG falls apart, you're no longer recognized. If your Black Fine Militia falls apart, you're no longer recognized. So if what you're saying is something that you're interested in, do it, man. I think that would be super cool. And if you start doing it now, you might be able to kind of convince the staff, like, hey, look, this is how it used to work. This is how we're trying to make it work now. What do you think? Again, I don't know. I don't even know if they still approve orgs and stuff like that anyways, but that could be a solution for now, for today.
I think so. Like, to give you an idea of what basically I'm like, how do I do the things that I'm trying to do? When I've asked the GMs, can I do this? And they went, no. And then I said, that classic Kirk line, he said, no, I am therefore going anyways. So, another dated reference. So basically, I was like, "Hey, Game Masters, I would like to become assistant governor of Blackfine." And then I had that conversation with Sidu, and he's like, "You have to earn it." And I'm like, "Okay." So here I am trying to earn it, and I'm like, "Okay, I'd like to open a business in Blackfine. Can I buy property in Blackfine?" And they're like, "No." So can I buy a holding in Blackfine? No. Can I purchase any kind of land I can just put a tent on and sleep on and build on it tomorrow? Like, any kind of anything? Can I have access to the governor's mansion? Can I set up a shack outside? They're like, no. So,
but here's the thing.
So here's what I did is I bought someone's house in Blackvine. I overpaid by way more than I should have.
But that's what I was just going to say. you still could make it happen, and it sounds like you did.
And I did, man. I bought someone's house. I overpaid by 1,000, but whatever. Not actually 1,000, but I overpaid by a lot. But I wanted the property in Blackvine, and that was the only one that was available. So I'm like, screw it. So I did it, and I started hiring people to do the legwork, and then we started getting systems in place and guards, and then we started hosting these hunts to get people ready while we practiced in the behind the screens, and we're doing this these item collections and making items, and getting things moved across the road, and then moving across the road became difficult in the last real life week. So we pretty much stopped, and we're like, we're gonna wait until things quiet down before we try to host any kind of feasts, because the day before feasts, I believe Veterland was occupied.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as in like the little light went from green to red saying, open to occupied, vacant to occupied.
Nope, there were bad dudes. But honestly, from a out of character perspective, I think that's a great opening for your character, for the story, for what you're trying to do, because you get to be a part of that. Your character can actually make a mark in whatever way that character does his things. So while it may be unfortunate for the events you have planned and that sort of thing, I think it's there's just a lot of potential for character growth for what you're trying to do. To underneath this governor of Blackvine, to see your character's name based off of what's happening and what your character and clients end up doing around that. I think it's an amazing opportunity for you right now, and I wish you the best of luck, by the way.
Thanks, man. And really what I'm trying to do is like, I typed this out in the forums a while back. I was like, if you see me in the streets, don't be like, oh, it's a patrician, he doesn't want to talk to me. Like, listen, man, do you see any other patricians around here I can talk to? No. You see Duadella Rex come out to the toga once every 3 months. Like, ooh, big deal. Like, but there are no active patricians. You don't see any of the names that you normally would be seeing. Like Exonius Flavius Vespasian is not around that often. Salia Elandria hosts games periodically. Like,
yeah.
And then it's me, and that there's nobody else.
I wonder, why do you think that is? Do you think it's because people are disheartened and they're just like, these things are dead, retired, whatever? Or do you think it's just because they're potentially just playing on another character that they feel has more value?
I can't presume to guess what people's reasons are for why they do what they do. But I can surmise that maybe they're doing this for the same reason I'm still doing this. I just don't have a political position. Like, if I had said, "Hey, can I be Blackvine AG?" and Cedar was like, "Sure," and he makes me Blackvine AG, and then he goes back to doing his work, he literally like swatted away a fly. Like,
right.
I would be in the same position as her. Be like, what can I do that doesn't require GM support? Really, like, she threw a game together with probably minimal GM, support. She's like, hey, can I get some cool animals? I've never done the Coliseum job, so I don't know the mechanics of it, but like, I imagine she just sent in a request a few weeks ahead of time. Hey, can I get some Messacarnus and some bulls? And they were like, sure, just hit us up, we'll be around that hour, just let us know what you need, and we'll get you taken care of.
Awesome.
And that's what I imagine happened.
Yeah.
But like, which is really just like, hey, can you give me 20 minutes of one evening? Otherwise, I can do everything else by myself. We can do some kind of festivals. I can do the getting the players to commit to it. I can do the promotion. Like, you don't have to worry about that. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is like, clearly there's a plot revolving around Blackvine. Blackvine is the place to be. And like, I think that there is a lot of opportunity out in Blackvine. Like, I feel like I should get paid a golden cent every time I say the word Blackvine, because I say it so. So the business that we're trying to set up out there, this is like 50% OOC, 50% IC.
Nope. Don't you dare do it. Save it for in game, man. But it's people already know this.
That's
okay. I want people to, they've heard about your character, they've heard about the system. Folks, if you're old school and you're looking for a player who has a patrician, who's trying to be active, who's potentially trying to adjust and change an old system and make it new, we got at least one right here. That's why when we were talking about different people to come on the show, I was like, dude, I'd love to have you on. If you want to find out more in the game, go find out. It sounds like there are a lot of cool opportunities happening for folks who have characters that would go up and talk to a patrician. Hey man, I need some money for a business. Hey, I need a loan. Or maybe it's just like, hey, cool to see you.
That's how we ended up writing the Beast Hunter's Price Guide. Is like, I was like, where do you get these hides, these fangs, these things? Like, where's the best place to hunt this stuff? And then Aoden was like, I could tell you. I mean, I could write it all down. And I'm like, could you? I'll pay you for it. And he's like, okay. And then he did it, and then I paid him for it, and now we have this book. And it's, if you've seen it in game, it's an incredible. Like, I talked to Aoden's player. I'm like, dude, this is amazing. Like, he put together all that information and sorted it out and outlined it, and it's incredible. Like,
put them in the library, folks. Yeah, put your stuff in the library. Oh my god, dude. I have Evan roleplay as he's actually in the library reading stuff, but there's not enough to read. Please submit more stuff to the library. I love the idea of these lores and these things that are in the game being written by characters and placed in the game. Cool. The wiki's cool. It's nice to have that, for your quick lookup for rank bonus or whatever. But a lot of these sort of stories and stuff like that, please, if you've got them like this, library them. Sorry. Didn't want.
No, yeah. Like, and I have several books that, like, I only have one copy of that I need to get copies made so I can submit them to the library. Like, my Patrician, like, that's the thing I wanted to say is, like, if you're just a PC with one name and you see my Patrician with two names walk by, like, nod to me, say hello, and I will engage back. I promise you, because I don't have any other Patricians I can play with that are around in any capacity. And so, like, I have to do my best to not be like slinging it with head count, like fighting bandits in the Traven. Like, I have to actually play a Patrician, but I need to have friends I play with. Otherwise, if I only play with Patricians, I'll never play with anyone. So like, come say hi, begin a plot with me. Like, maybe you need something. Like we said, like, maybe you need a loan for something. Like, maybe you have a business idea. Come talk to me. Like, I'm filthy rich and I'm bored. Like, at least say hi.
I legitimately have a hysterical idea for one of my characters, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay. Already approved.
Before we say goodbye to everybody, was there anything else you wanted to mention, wanted to say? I feel like we kind of touched on a lot of stuff. This was a great interview. Thank you for coming on. I hope people got a little bit of the kind of peel back of the curtain of Patricians, how they got created, what they used to be, what they are, maybe a vision for the future. And again, thank you for coming on. More folks, if you're watching this, if you have a criminal character, if you I have a power trainer lined up, I would love to see more folks from the community come and hang out and talk. Even if some folks are like, hey man, I'm not comfortable talking in voice. You don't have to. I can ask you questions, and Discord has text. You can text it back. I don't care if I'm monologuing the whole night, just like, how do you feel about this? Oh, you feel that it's a great idea? Phenomenal. Like that, I'm totally cool with that. As long as it's people from our community telling us their stories about their characters, telling us about their roleplay, their ambitions, the systems, the things they've seen, changes they'd like to see, whatever it may be. I'd like you to come on my TEC Talk, our TEC Talk, talk about the Eternal City. That being said, man, did you have anything else you want to say? You want to say goodnight to everybody before I cut this short?
Yeah. I just want to give. Can I do a shout out?
Do it up, man.
Yeah. All right, cool. I want to shout out. If this was like in game and like there was like a TEC radio, right? Be like, yo, I want to shout out my girl Melina. She got my back, ride or die. Yo, I want to shout out. I want to shout out my homegirl, my wifey, my homegirl. Vaestia Elavia Santum. I wanna shout out my best friend, my biffle, Mayas Awila. And I wanna shout out my steward of the city, I don't know, my sometimes friend Saliea Ilandria. You know who you are.
You know in your hearts who you are. If I can't say your name, I meant you. Yes, you.
Even though I just named you, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, again, thanks for coming on the show. Nice shout outs. I appreciate you being here. I hope you had fun. For those of you who are watching this on YouTube, this is where this is going to end. I am going to cut this up and try to throw it up on YouTube here pretty soon. If I don't get it up tonight, haha, double entendre, then it will be up in the next couple of days. I'm traveling tomorrow. But thank you for being here. Very much. I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us about your character, about the system, and all that.
Are people like watching this, or are you gonna cut this?
People are watching this live. I'm about.
Oh man,
I'm about to
cut this for later.
Oh no, man!
Can we do another take?
No, there are zero. This is the best. This is why I love streaming.
There are 0 takes. What kind of a show is this?
Dude, it's there's no takes, there's no redos. Like I did a 50-hour stream. Oh, let me cut this first, then we'll bullshit. So this is where we're gonna cut this for YouTube, and we will be right back.